Hi, I'm Dean, and this is my story. So I'm from Durban, South Africa. From an early age, when I went to school, I was bullied a lot. In fact, it was day in, day out, every single day of my school life. Until when I reached the age of 16, I was broken. I had nothing. My dad used to call my bedroom the dungeon because I used to go in there, close all the curtains, lock the door, stay away from everyone else because that was my only refuge. When I was 16, I tried to commit suicide. Fortunately, my mom was a praying mom, and God had shown her a week before I made the attempt that someone in the house was going to try and commit suicide, and she'd been praying about it for a week. And God supernaturally intervened and prevented me from taking my own life. God began to work in my life to pull me out of that. After having an encounter with God that He stopped me from committing suicide, it inspired me to dive into the Word, to change my prayer life. He taught me how to forgive those who had hurt me. But more than that, He also taught me how to fight against the negative thoughts, against the pain, against the fear that was coming into my mind. In fact, I waged war against the negativity until I broke free from the anxiety and free from the depression about a year later. And my life transformed. It transformed to such a degree that I went from being an introvert, hiding away from the world, to being on the other side, extroverted, loud, running around, making friends, warm, open. It was such a transformation that the girl I took to my senior prom didn't recognize me a year after we had broken up because I changed that much. It went from strength to strength. When I was at university, I became chairman of the Student Christian Association. When I finished university, I went on to get a Bachelor of Theology and a Bachelor of Psalmody, which is the study of praise and worship, eventually leading on to becoming a youth pastor. I met someone, fell in love. I asked her to marry me, she said yes. And then 6 months after we were engaged, she was killed. You know, my heart didn't just break, it shattered. I didn't cry, I sobbed. I had two friends who dropped everything to be with me at that time because she had been killed in Pretoria and I was in Durban. It's about a 6-hour drive away. She was visiting her aunt and uncle. There was a moment after the memorial service when we were driving back down, my friends were driving me back down, where about half an hour out of Pretoria, the thought occurred to me that I had a choice. And my choice was, I could either curse God and die, or I could hold on to Him tightly and never let go. No sooner had that thought gone through my mind than my brother phoned me. And he said, Dean, whatever you do, don't blame God. And I said to my brother, I don't blame God because I don't believe He killed her. And besides, Scripture says that He is the God of all comfort. And how can He comfort me if I'm blaming Him and accusing Him? And I realized in that moment that the choice that I had was I either accuse God of murdering the woman I loved, blame Him, God took her. Or I could realize that the fact was a man made a bad decision in a car which caused a truck to jackknife through 8 lanes of traffic and kill her. And when I decided to rather blame the man and not God, I latched onto God and I allowed Him to comfort me. And He comforted me in a supernatural way. There were so many things that happened during that time. If I had to talk about all of them, we'd be here for hours. But I'll tell you this, every single night for a month, I felt God's arms holding me. During the day, I'd go to work and I'd be in a fog. I wouldn't be able to think straight. But at night, I would lie in my bed and say, Lord, I just need you to hold me. And he held me. Over the months, he began to heal my heart. The millions of questions that I had in my head faded away until he began to answer the most important ones. Until finally he restored my heart. About 8.5 years after she'd been killed, I'd moved to the UK at that time. I met someone else, someone new, fell in love, spent all my vacation time flying out to the USA to spend time with her. And things got serious. I asked her to marry me. She said yes. So then one of us had to change continents, and I figured it would be me. I'd done it once before. I had the qualifications, skills and experience, so I began to go through the process to get my visa to come out here, and the day I finally got my visa was the day she decided to break up with me, which is quite funny because that means I was originally coming out to the USA for her, and then in the end I came out to the USA for no particular reason. The funny thing is that situations and circumstances came together so amazingly that I can't argue it was God. I was praying, God gave me the name of the person to contact. I contacted them, they gave me the name of the person to send my resume to. They were looking for resumes for people for the position that I was applying for at that very moment. The person who interviewed me had worked with me before and knew how good I was, so the interview was a piece of cake. Everything fell into place. So I found myself in the strange position of knowing I'm supposed to be in the US. God organized me to get to the US, and I'm trying to figure out what to do now that I'm here. There's one thing I want to leave with you, and there's one thing I want you to think about and realize is that He is our counselor. And if we open up our heart to Him, instead of blaming Him for bad things that happen in our life that He didn't do, if we open up our heart to Him, become truly vulnerable, allowing Him in to the deepest places, that's when He can heal us. That's when He can transform us. Because most of the time we lie and we pretend He can't see what He already knows. And He loves us despite all the rubbish that's inside. So I want to encourage you to share your story as well, because when you share your story, both you and other people grow close together and close to God.